Imagine being 6 years old and standing before a king, not knowing if he is your savior or your captor. This was the moment that changed everything for Eugenia Martínez Vallejo, a girl whose family had hidden her from a cruel world, only for her to be summoned into an even crueler one. In the opulent royal court of Charles Sickener of Spain, she became a living curiosity, tragically nicknamed La Monstrua, the monster, and destined for a life of exploitation. Eugenia's story began in 1674 in a remote hamlet within Merindad de Montilla in northern Spain. Her father was José Martínez Vallejo and her mother, Antonia de la Bodega. While their exact occupations are lost to history, it's known they came from a humble background. Eugenia had siblings, though their exact number is also uncertain. A strange story marked her arrival. It was said her mother's waters broke on a Sunday morning inside a church. With no time to return home, Antonia gave birth right there. This highly uncommon event was viewed by those present as a blessed omen for the baby girl's future. The Spanish writer Maria Jesus Jabato suggests this might be why she was named Eugenia, a name meaning La Bien Nacida, or the well-born. As a baby, Eugenia appeared healthy and strong, with a very good appetite. These were all positive signs for a healthy future, which was never a given in those times. During the 17th century, especially in rural areas without many doctors, infant mortality rates were alarmingly high. In England at this time, for instance, 20% of all children born would die within their first year, and 36% of children would not survive to the age of 6. Eugenia was a plump infant, which her parents initially didn't find concerning. At that time, both medical and social standards looked favorably upon girls and women who were more robust, as this was seen as a sign of fertility and, in certain circles, wealth. Thus, her parents likely felt it wasn't something to worry about. However, as she grew older, the situation became more troubling. Little Eugenia began to grow with incredible speed compared to other infants. It was claimed, likely with some exaggeration, that Eugenia looked like she was 12 years old even before her first birthday. What is known is that when she was just 1, she already weighed around 20 kilos, and her growth continued at a startling rate. All the while, her siblings developed normally like other children. Because of this, her parents consulted a physician to help with their daughter's weight problems. Eugenia was consequently put on a strict diet, yet even this failed to solve the issue. As the years passed and Eugenia grew larger, she was relentlessly made fun of by her neighbors. Pained by this cruelty, her parents tried to hide her from local residents by keeping her inside their house, hoping to spare her the constant harassment of the outside world. Despite their efforts, word of the giant girl inevitably spread to nearby towns. Strangers would frequently approach the family home, trying to get a glimpse of her to mock her appearance. By the time she reached 6 years of age, it said she weighed around 65 kilos. The constant bullying she suffered confined her mostly to her room, where no one could see her. Her life, however, was about to change course dramatically. An invitation arrived to join the royal court of Charles Sickener in Madrid. One day, at just 6 years old, a messenger from the royal family knocked on the family's door. He asked if Eugenia could be brought before the Spanish king, Charles C., who was also known as the Bewitched. Her story had travelled so far across the Spanish countryside that it had reached the ears of the king himself, who was deeply intrigued by this unusually large girl. Naturally, her parents were uneasy at first, but they were in no position to refuse such a request. It remains unclear if they understood the true reasons for their journey to the capital. Perhaps they dreamed of finding a cure for their daughter. Sadly, this was not to be the case. In 1680, at 6 years old, Eugenia was taken to the royal court with her parents. Upon arrival, the royal tailor wasted no time in making Eugenia a dress, as was required to be presented before the king. It was said that Charles Sekou was fascinated by her appearance and immediately suggested to her parents that she be taken into his care and become a part of the royal court, an offer they quickly accepted. A chronicler of that era, Juan Cabezas, published a pamphlet about her court arrival, stating, "Off los prodigios de la naturaleza que ha llegado a esta court, en una gigante llamada Eugenia Martínez." This means, the wonders of nature have arrived to this court in the form of a giant girl named Eugenia Martínez. He went on to add, His Majesty Charles C., realizing that this was a miracle of nature, decided to see her and asked that she be brought to his royal palace in Madrid, where today she is admired by the royal household and all the nobility of these kingdoms. Although it might seem at first glance that the king was inviting Eugenia into the palace from a place of goodwill and generosity, there was a darker reason. Since the medieval period, it had been a popular tradition in European courts to keep various entertaining figures around. Spain was no different, and here they were known as genti de placer, which can be translated as people of pleasure. It is said that Charles Sikou was very generous with Eugenia, and she was promptly included within this peculiar group. These entertainers consisted of a wide range of characters, from jesters and dwarfs to people with deformities, and even the mentally ill. The king and other court members enjoyed keeping these people around for their own amusement. The king especially liked their company, albeit to ridicule them. Charles too did not hesitate to exhibit her at palace parties. Here, Eugenia was often sought out by ladies who wished to be drawn or painted next to her to highlight the beauty of their own slender figures. Sadly, Eugenia and others like her at court were given no payment for their services, despite working long hours. They also lived entirely at the mercy of their lords, who could dismiss them penniless whenever they chose. Of course, some viewed this as a great misfortune, as they existed merely to be mocked as human exhibits by the nobility, yet, for some, it might have seemed like a stroke of luck. The nobility did spend a great deal of money on la gente de placer. They ensured they were well fed, kept warm on cold winter nights, and even had a varied and interesting wardrobe, which is much more than could be said for most peasants of the day. Despite being provided for, the nobility treated them as objects, doing with them whatever they pleased for their own amusement. In fact, Charles's father, Philip IV of Spain, is on record as having had around 110 court dwarves. This wasn't solely for his entertainment. Much of the nobility also kept dwarves to reinforce the concept of perfection and the superiority of the ruling dynasty. What makes Eugenia stand out from others at court is the fact that two renowned portraits of her were commissioned by the king. These were painted by the artist Juan Carreño de Miranda, who was appointed court painter to the Queen in 1671. Today, both portraits can be viewed side by side at the Museo del Prado in Madrid. In the portraits, not only does Eugenia appear sad and uncomfortable, but she was likely in considerable pain, as her weight issue would have made it a struggle to pose for such a long time. At court, she was displayed as a curiosity or a frick due to her size, and these paintings are a testament to this, bearing the names La Monstrua Vestida or La Monstrua Desnuda, meaning the monster clothed, the monster undressed. Juan Cabezas described the young girl, writing that Eugenia was pale and not too unpleasant to look at. Although her face was overly large, the head, face, and neck and other features of hers are the size of two men's heads. Her stomach is as huge as the fattest pregnant women about to give birth. Her thighs are so thick and full of flesh that one becomes confused and astonished by her unsightly nature. Her legs are just a tad smaller than those of a man and full of rolls. Her feet are proportionate to her body, while they're like those of a man. However, she has trouble getting around due to the excessive size of her body. Of course, in that era, no one knew what afflicted young Eugenia, but today it is speculated that she likely had a genetic disorder called Prader-Willi syndrome. This condition is caused by a loss of function of specific genes on chromosome 15. Children with this syndrome have a constant feeling of hunger, which can lead to obesity and type 2 diabetes. Often, affected individuals have a narrow forehead, small hands and feet, short height, light skin and hair, and most are unable to have children. Many of these symptoms are very similar to reports of Eugenia from that time, though we cannot be 100% certain this was the cause of her appearance. Tragically, Eugenia was frequently mocked. When walking from place to place within the palace, she tired easily and struggled to keep up with others. It is also believed she had hormonal problems and was infertile, never having her period even in later life. Despite her poor health and the ridicule she endured, overall, it is believed that she enjoyed living at the palace. Eugenia was a pleasant girl and actually became quite popular at court, even being appreciated by the royal family. Even as she entered her teenage years and adulthood, she is said to have remained well-liked. Eugenia Martínez Vallejo died in 1699 at around the age of 24. She lived her whole life in the court, after being taken in when she was 6. The location of her remains and the exact cause of death are unknown, though it was likely related to the condition she suffered from. Hundreds of years later, in 1997, the city of Avilés in Spain commissioned a statue of Eugenia Martínez to be made in honor of the artist of her portrait, Carreno de Miranda. The statue depicts his most famous painting, La Monstra Vestida, which was made from bronze by the Spanish sculptor Amado Gonza Les Hevia. The statue stands on the street which is named after him in the Barrio Marinero de Sabugo. Thank you so much everyone for watching this video. I do hope you enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments below if you think it was a good decision for her to have moved to the Spanish court, or if you think she would have been better off staying at home with her family. Make sure to like and subscribe, and be sure to have notifications turned on so you get all my videos as soon as they're uploaded.